We have the multi talented Nandini Srikar with us. It's a privilege to be talking to her about her music. She's a composer, vocalist, music producer. She mixes and masters also her own songs. She writes lyrics also, and she's a guitar player. And it would be fantastic to get to know how she comes up with her music and what her ideas are. Uh, is Nandini here? Can I invite her? Can I invite Nandini?
Hi.
Hi,
Yeah.
Nandini.
Hi. Hi, Nihira. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, and I'm such a huge fan and admirer of yours. And I'm more
Thank you.
than
Thank you so much.
privileged to
Thank you.
be talking to you.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here and pleasure to be talking to you and through you to so many other people who are also who have logged in and are online. Yes, so such a pleasure to be here.
And welcome to LivDemy and KahaaNi. On in today's, how are you doing given the season and given the conditions in the world right now?
Less said the better. Yeah, there's been some health that health is not all that great, but it's okay. I mean, like life goes on, and we try and do the best that we can.
Fantastic. So, we'll be talking a lot today. I believe sometimes it's also a nice break for artists to not perform their art and just talk also. And of course, it
Yes,
would be
tell me
a
about
pleasure. So,
it. Absolutely, absolutely.
sometimes
Yes,
it's a good welcome break. So,
yes, yes, absolutely.
Nandini, I've always wanted to ask you that did you always want to be a professional musician or it just happened along the way and or how was it?
Yeah, there was never an intention to be a professional musician. You see, I come from a South Indian, typical South Indian
Mhm.
family, and the way we are brought up, like your education is very important,
Yeah.
and you do study art, dance or music instrument, something like on the side. That it's supposed to be, you're supposed to have like a bunch of hobbies,
Hmm.
kind of like, carry you through life. So you have a, your art, and you have your something that you work with, your job, kind of a thing. So the intention was never to be a professional musician. It definitely happened quite by chance. I was literally pushed into this. I think I was just destined to be here. I can say that.
Okay, that's interesting because given the number of things that you do, composing and singing and playing so many instruments and also producing your own tracks and so I mean this is definitely an act of a child just exploring her art form. I think just like how a child
Absolutely.
plays with his or her toy. I guess you were just
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better than that. Like you said it absolutely right. In fact, the music is there from the beginning, but and the ideas are always there. But then how you what tools you use to execute and all of those things, those were things that came in much later, right after I took up music as a profession. But yeah, it's like you're given a bunch of toys and tools, and you experiment with that and see where that takes you and where you go with it.
lovely, but I guess that's the best way to go about it, uh, given the fact that if you're looking at expressing your own independent thought, then I guess
Yes,
this is the best way to go about it. How how
absolutely.
uh, how did the first professional experience of music happen then? If it was not so intentional before, and how did it happen?
Yeah. See, Hariharan had heard me sing. I was working in a company, software company in Pune,
Oh,
and yeah,
wow.
and he heard me sing, and he and Leslie were there for Pune Festival. Their colonial cousins had come in to
Mhm.
perform there, and so it was just a happen chance, I would say. And then he said, "I don't know what you're doing in a software company. I think you should be singing. Would you be interested in singing if I called you to Bombay and
Mhm.
asked you to sing?" I said, like, "I mean, Hariharan is saying it. How can?" And I'm a huge fan of Hariharan, Harichi. So it's like, how can I say no? I mean, like, obviously, I would do that. And that is how it happened. And it so happened just about 15 days later, after that meeting, mm, there was a music director called Vidya Sagar, who does a
Mhm.
lot of music in the South. He was looking for a new voice to sing a song. Okay, so so then Harry called me and said, so there is this music director who's looking for a new voice. Would you be interested in singing an Asha Ji type of number?
Mhm.
So Asha Ji has sung so many different kinds of numbers, right from something so superbly melodious like Bhav Geet to the very
Cabaret.
modern cabaret kind of numbers. So which Asha Ji type of number are you talking about? So, like, the ones that she's actually more famous for, the very light-hearted
Mhm.
stuff, nothing classical. So I said, I don't know if I'll be able to do that because I've never done that, but I can always give it a shot and you see if it works or not. Said, okay, they can come over to Bombay. And I took chutti from my office and I went to Bombay.
Okay.
Uh, Day one, I saw Hari dub his voice for another song in the same film. And then the next day, I had to record my song, and that's how my first recording went. So it was something that first charts was something that just like fell into my lap like that, and I continued working even after that for almost a year, because that movie and that song released a year after that, and that
Okay.
song was a huge hit.
Wow.
And uh, and I was in the meanwhile I was contemplating, like, what do I do? It's like the office job is so boring. and
Mm.
uh, and I said, like, what if I shifted? And nobody in at home was very happy with that, because it's like, you leave a job that you get a salary at the end of the month, and you going into something that you have no clue about, you don't know how that industry works, you don't know anybody out there, and how are you going to, like, do this? I don't know. I mean, if I've managed to get my first um, my first song, is there any reason why I shouldn't get a second and a third? That was the kind of optimism I had at that point of time. So, of course,
How long back was this?
I recorded the song in 97. 98 is
Oh my.
1998 is when I came into the industry. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's a really long time back.
yes, yes, that was a very long time. And then I obviously quit my job and I decided to try it out here. And then I realized, okay, I was really like a very naive babe in the woods. I had no clue what was what at that point of time. I was under that very innocent impression that if you know how to sing and somebody asks you to sing and you sing well, you'll get the opportunity. What's such a big deal about it? That was the kind of I mean, why would anybody say no? That's the kind of uh, thinking you have. But then, yeah, of course, it was just that first opportunity that I got, which literally fell into my lap. But after that,
Slowly,
it
then
was
you
not.
started building contacts, and what type of work did you start doing after that? Was it films, or you ventured into independent music right after that, or how did it go?
No, at that time, in my head, I was thinking what I would really like to be doing is my own music.
True.
Like have a rock band kind of a thing, and then go on the road, perform, do live shows, write your
Lovely.
own music, that kind of a thing. Though that was the idea I had, I realized that, like, yeah, I mean, it's this is a job. It's not as simple as, like, just going and saying that, yeah, I can sing, and so please give me a chance, and you get a chance, and like, and you'll keep getting it. It doesn't happen. It happens like that for some people who are very, I would say, very, very fortunate, but it doesn't happen like that for everybody.
And
And
not every time. All
not
of
every
us,
time.
just like when you're in a job, sometimes you have to take up assignments that you don't want to do.
Yes,
This
that
is a job.
happens.
You have to do things that you don't want to, but you have to because you have to keep going. And
Absolutely.
yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Spot on. So it took me a long time to actually kind of uh, understand what this was really all about. That was the time I came across this whole. The first job I did in Bombay was an ad with Ranjit Barot. I sang, and then that was when I realized, oh my God, like they do music for advertisement also. I mean, such an industry exists. अब all these years you're watching TV, you see ads of music बजता होएगा पीछे से कहीं से. I mean, like, it never occurred to me that somebody actually that somebody actually sits and makes music for an ad film. It never occurred to me like that. So, uh, so
True. Even I used to feel that the actors who are in the ad, they are singing in the moment only. That's why I'm laughing so hard because
no, the kind of ideas we used to have, like, there's so many assumptions that we make, sitting on the other side watching. So अच्छा अच्छा ad industry भी होता है. फिर then you go to the studio, and then I see the whole setup out there, like you see the console and you see all the gear, and it's like, oh wow, what is all this? And that was like very interesting for me. It's like, अच्छा ये क्या है, वो क्या है? Suddenly, like you said, I want to learn this thing, whatever it is. Then it's obviously, then while I went around making, demo tapes. I made one demo tape, and then I met a lot of directors, because that's what I was told. No, you have to go meet people, tell them you're a musician.
true.
And yeah, I that's how I met a lot of music directors. And of course, like, that's it still does not mean, it doesn't translate into immediate work,
Not at all.
even if yeah, it doesn't happen like that. So in the meantime, I think it's just the way I am as a person. I don't like to sit around faffing. I have to keep
Hmm.
learning something new every day, and I'm still like that. So
Very inspiring approach, but as you know, when you were talking right now, and when you said that when you entered the studio and you saw the console and all the equipment and all the gear, you wanted to learn everything. I just thought
right.
to myself, there are two responses that you can have to such a situation. One is you can get intimidated, and one is you can get intrigued. And you chose
Yes,
the second one, and that's what has brought you where you are. You are a risk
absolutely.
taker, and that shows in your music. I'm going to come to one of your tracks after you finish speaking, so I'm going to let you
Absolutely.
continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how I said, like, now who's going to teach me? Then I came across, okay, you have this thing called production. All right. Now who's going to teach me production? So there's nobody out there that I can approach and say, okay, you teach me this stuff. Nobody has the time or the patience or the inclination to do that. So I said, okay. I went to the British Library, just picked up books on production and engineering, both mixing, everything. I'm somebody who can read books, a lot of books,
Mhm.
um so that's how I got into learning the nitty-gritties of production and engineering. It's essentially self-taught. Then
Mhm.
so as you kind of, like, the next few months, like, you realize, ठीक है, यहाँ से एक ad आ गया, वहाँ से एक ad आ गया. And I used to stay in Pune at that time,
Mhm.
and I used to commute from Pune, come do the job here in Bombay, go. you're going to get any work while you're I realize that, people want you now. They give you a call and they say, we want you in the studio now. And
Agree.
that when that's the case, if people know, oh, you stay in Pune, oh, okay, it's going to be kind of difficult. Nobody calls you.
Yeah.
That happens. At least that used to happen back then. Now things are quite different. I'm talking about a time when we there was no expressway also.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's how the production came into being. Then obviously by that time, like I somehow managed to get myself a second hand sequencer,
Mhm.
and then of course from there you move on to like a Cubase. I set up my computer, started programming,
That's
and
good.
then in the meantime, yes, obviously I realized that I can get into advertising. You have to pay your bills. I'm not getting work, singing work as it is, not much. So, how do you survive? How do you sustain? I'm not from Bombay. I don't have a place to stay in Bombay. So those years were like really very tough
Mhm.
for me. And then I had a child. My daughter was like really very young, and fortunately, some of the people I did meet at that time, they really understood me for
Mhm.
who I was as a musician. Ashu Dhruv, they used to
Mhm.
do a lot of, they used to call me. So yeah, I mean, like, and Ranjit Barot also
Mhm.
actually. So there was a lot of traveling, and then there was this thing I was learning on the side, and I set up, and then I decided, okay, fine,
Is that
let
how
me
you
start.
came up with your own album, Beete Pal? I was listening to your album
Beatable came in
some
later.
that's much later. Okay.
That came in much later. I started doing advertising. I started doing, and of course, there also, what looking retrospectively speaking, when I see, there were so many people. Obviously, I went with my show reel, demo tapes, and said, okay,
Mhm.
I do this work. But the people who came to me for work on ads were not the people I had approached. Were people
Mhm.
who heard about me from somebody else, and
Mhm.
they remained my clients for a very long time. I did this work for almost 17 years, 17, 18 years. But surprisingly, the ones I took my demo to, I never got any work from them. So
Mhm.
when there is no explanation to why things happen this way. That is why my general opinion about anything is a very open-ended thing. It doesn't work the same way for everybody. If it works in a particular way with one person, it works very differently with another person. So
Absolutely.
there are there's no generalization, that you can do with this kind of an industry actually.
And anyway, I think it is also, I mean, I'm way too younger to speak about experience in front of you, but whatever little I have experienced from what I think is what is meant for you comes to you. Anyhow,
Absolutely.
it just comes to you. No
Yes.
matter how hard you try to run away from it, it just comes to you.
or
And
or try to run for it. Yes, I
yeah,
absolutely agree
and
with you, and that's one of the first things that this industry in particular uh, teaches you in life. That's one of the first life lessons you learn here, that and it proves itself over and over and over again, and that
totally,
strengthens the belief that yes, if, things that you never like really went after somehow came to you, and the ones that you actually tried to get, they somehow just, कुछ चीजें ऐसी भी होती है ना कि वो होते होते रह जाती है. I mean, like, where you've been called for a song, and then they say, okay, we'll get back to you, and then almost everything is decided, and then just last minute something happens, something gets cancelled, and that's out, and after that you don't hear about the
in
song or that recording
yeah, in
ever
Marathi,
again.
my
That
mother
happens so
tongue,
much.
we call this घास तोंडाशी येऊन निघून जाणे. As in निवाला यहाँ तक आया but खाया नहीं. I, it's exactly.
Ha, ha. Exactly, exactly. It's like that. And the these kind of experiences are very common actually in our industry,
You have to be prepared for
rejection,
them. Yes, absolutely.
rejection and dejection and all of these things. This is an everyday affair. So when I see people outside of the industry in other fields who work in, it's like, मेरे को promotion नहीं मिला, उसको मिल गया." I'm just like, अरे यार, जिंदगी में आपने या जैसे 2 बार या 3 बार रिजेक्शन देख लिया, वो बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा. We get so used to it and we just move
Totally.
on from there. Yeah, you just it's that way. Yeah,
Um,
huge lesson.
as I'm talking to you, I realize that you're such a big risk taker. You like to venture, you like to put yourself out there in fire and, test things. So,
And burn and get burned.
that brings me to one song of yours that I'm extremely intrigued by. It's called the 9 beat thing.
Right, 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 right. Paninotis. That's what I called it. Maybe
Papa.
I should have chosen a better name.
I,
Paninotis
I
is
could
what
not
it's called.
even say it. So I've even, yeah, that's Satyajit Papa. One second. So रब करे
Papa
कि आज
Paninotis.
से आज फिर ना हो कभी दुआ करो
Correct.
कि आज से आज फिर ना हो. So how did this mathematical approach, and how did you feel like, how did this progressive rock, it's for the first time that I've heard, because I'm also a listener of Porcupine Tree and Pink Floyd, and so when I heard that, I was like, such a lovely time signature, and so gracefully done. How did that song happen? How did that idea come about?
Well, actually, see, like in Carnatic music,
Oh,
odd time signatures are very common. You
yeah.
have lots of kritis and you have lots of compositions, and then and all those who learn Carnatic, like particularly when you learn the rhythm part of it,
Mhm.
you have so many varieties of talams, right? Dhruva talam, Atti talam, and all of that. So the fundamental concept is there. If you have a particular number, you can partition it in so many ways, there are so many ways in which you can divide. It's very fundamental arithmetic is what you
Mm.
use when you do your core ways and your kunakols and all of that. So 9 as a time signature is not very uncommon in Indian music, and
Yeah,
so
it is.
it is even in the Middle Eastern, the Balkan,
Mhm.
like the Turkish music.
Mhm.
9 is fairly common there also.
Yeah.
It's just that for this one, um, the first thing that came to me was the bass line.
Yeah.
Da 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 da
Mhm.
ba da 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 da.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, the way I'm going about this time is a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So and um, so the first, it was the bass line that came to me. Da 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 ba 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 da 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 da. So and um when I look back, I don't know. For me, it's a very intuitive
Mhm.
process. When I make music, I don't think mathematics or theory for that matter. It's just that it's an idea that gets generated in the mind, and somewhere one part of my mind is generating the idea, the other part is judging it, like, is it sounding good enough?
Yeah.
Everything is happening at the same time in the head. It's like, okay, like, where do I go from here? So I just, first thing I did was I put down the baseline for
Mhm.
that, and and um and then I put a very basic groove, which was, eventually I changed it, but just to help me build the song. Then comes the question of a melody, and then there was this chorus part. Um, uh,
Yeah.
like that. So um something that is 4/4 comes very naturally to us, because that is mostly 6/8, and 4/4 is
Mhm.
when we think 7/6/8, 7/8, 4/4 is what we mostly compose in. हम लोगों में तो in Indian music 5 is also very common, actually,
Yeah.
5/7. So it's just an extension of that same thought process uh, into 9. I was not really sitting and calculating the
It's in.
where that. Yeah, it just came in like and
Mm. Mm.
at some point, if like some melody is coming in and it somehow does it is not sitting on the beat,
Mm.
or completing the beat, then I would just make slight adjustments uh, somewhere
Yeah.
to kind of like make it complete the cycle.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the essential melody is something that just flows. It's like you have Ramanujan's partitions, right? Uh,
Mhm.
there's a particular number, how many different ways you can express that number. If you take 4, you can say 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, or you can say 2 plus 2, or 1 plus 1 1 plus 1 plus 2. There's so
Yeah.
many ways. There are 5. Actually, it turns out that there are 5 different ways of partitioning a number. How many ways you'd express
It's
uh,
just like in
as a sum of
Hindustani. Yeah. Sorry.
integers, basically, like that's what it is. So the in mathematics, what you do is like you are more involved in the thought process of finding a solution. Okay, if 5 is the partition number for 4, let's say,
Mm.
you're trying to figure out a solution, an equation that will tell me, if I a for any given number n, what would its partition number be, right?
Mm.
But in music, you're not concerned with the partition number, or how many ways you can have n number of ways of partitioning a number. My what I would do as a musician is choose a bunch of partitions,
Mm.
make my choice of like and musically utilize it
Yeah.
to express what I'm saying in a way that it flows very smoothly, very
Mm.
musically.
Yeah.
It should not be jarring to the ears, and whether it is with syncopated melody, or if it is a rhythm structure, or even if it is a chord progression that you choose to write behind. Nothing. It's important that the music flows in a very natural manner, without kind of like bina atke, na wo it वो smoothly, that flow, and that, in fact, that is what makes music so special. Because uh, I don't think any musician would be thinking theory or mathematics while making music. Neither is any listener thinking of
Yeah.
calculations while listening. Suna, acha laga, acha nahi laga. Did it work for me? Did it not work for me? That's all that a person is thinking. It's only in the analysis, when
Mm.
you pick things apart, you realize, oh my, this isn't as simple as it sounds. There's a little complication here. I mean, and when you try and analyze, you realize, oh, यहाँ पे मतलब ये सब हुआ है, ये chord progression ऐसा लिखा है, ऐसे voicings लिखे हैं. Yeah, all these things come only in the analysis, in retrospect, when you're after the music is done. Even at the time of creating the music or composing, um, I don't think theory or maths, for that matter.
Yeah.
Something flows out of me. Does it fit in? beautifully, does it sound good to me? Is it worth putting down? Okay, and once I've put down a particular idea, then I try to I mean I listen to it after 3 days, then I listen to it again after a week, then after a month. If I don't like the idea even after a month, or after a month, if I don't like the idea or something, say, yeah, it's, I don't know, I've gotten bored of it, it's not working for me,
Hmm.
right? I'll just reject the idea, I won't keep it.
Wonderful. This is a very nice way to think about creating and starting an idea, I think. And on that note, I see a lot of wonderful musicians who have joined us. There is Milind Kulkarni, a wonderful harmonium player from
Okay.
Pune. He's genius. Hello, Milind. And there is Nandini and Anjali Gaikwad. And there
Oh,
is Sharayu Date also, I think. So many good musicians who have joined the conversation to listen to you and your stories. So hi Sharayu, hi Milind.
listen, everybody.
Yes, such a nice thing to have so many good musicians to in the
Absolutely.
audience.
Only musicians come to listen to me, I'm telling you this.
A good audience, but
Yeah, it's a
not
nice,
a bad
nice
audience to
audience.
have.
Always, always, always.
Anyway, so I was also coming to vocal arrangements that you have done. I've been listening
Right, right.
to your songs and be it Bhare Naina, be it Beete Pal. There was another song that I was listening to, composed by Ranjit Barot sir, that you've sung. Be it this 9 beat song. All of
Chalte
them have
Chalte. Are you
Chalte
talking about
Chalte.
Chalte Chalte?
Yes, Chalte
Chalte
Chalte.
Chalte was composed by me. It was
Ah,
produced by
okay.
Ranjit, but it was composed by me. In fact, it
Beautiful.
was one of
Beautiful.
my demo songs actually.
Okay. So vocal
Yeah.
arrangements are beautiful, they are exotic, and they make you actually sit down and they make you want to dissect, अरे ये क्या है, ये track क्या होगा, how must this be mixed? And so how did you start doing these vocal arrangements, coming from the Carnatic background? And of course you play a lot of instruments, so what tools of your education do you use to come up with such vocal arrangements?
Uh, um, I think uh, first and foremost, music is always firstly the first step is an intuitive process,
Ah,
right? Like
you said before.
something about the music just makes sense to you, whether you know theory, you don't know theory, it doesn't matter. I mean, you may not know or even ABC of theory, but when you hear any piece of music, somehow uh, you just know where it sits and where it places itself, where the notes place
Mhm.
themselves. You just, it's there, you understand it. You may not know what to call it
Mhm.
because you haven't studied theory, right? But your mind knows where to place it, right? So when that is there, over and above that, studying theory, theory of harmony, theory of whatever, all
Mhm.
kinds of theory, music theory there is. It's a matter of it's something that helps you with analysis.
Mhm.
It helps you with education. It helps you with communication.
Hmm.
When you want to communicate with another musician, it's better to know some terms and know, okay, this rag, this tal, and you say, okay, and the other musician also knows, okay, भाई ये बजाना है, समझ में आ जाता है, ठीक है. So same thing in skill development. You want to develop your skill and practice something. Understanding theory helps,
Yeah.
but when it comes to the creativity, when you're composing a piece of music, It is what your imagination is doing. It
Yeah.
is not your knowledge of theory that is creating the music.
Lovely. So the same uh, philosophy that uh, mentioned in the earlier answer, the same. It's all basically instinct. Comes from your
Yeah,
heart. Comes from your soul.
it's only when you're hearing it here, and you know how to interpret it, either by playing an instrument or by singing, or if you need to explain it because you know theory, you can explain it to somebody,
Yeah.
right? But that is where the theory part of it actually helps. But what is it that makes one musician create a piece of melody like this, right? You can't explain that. I mean, that's his imagination, his or her imagination. उस वक्त उसको जो सूझा वो निकला वहां से
Yeah.
at that moment. There are many times when, like, sote sote, or at some point, like, some idea, ek melody aya, something I'm hearing in my head. There are two types of hearing people have. One is when something is playing outside of you, or somebody's singing, performing, or music is playing, and you hear it and it goes in. And there is the other hearing, where something inside you is singing, speaking, and you hearing
Mhm.
it inside your head.
Yeah.
There are two systems that play, right? External and internal. So your internal system, it's playing something inside, you're hearing it inside. Now, if at that point I don't make a note, either in the form of writing or in the form of, like, say, take a
Recording
dictaphone
it.
and sing it
Yes.
into it. If I wake up the next day or 2 days later, I'm not going to remember what that idea is. It's gone. वो तब आया गया वो गया. I mean, now, if I what was that idea? What was that idea? You will just keep racking your brains, but it's not going to come back again. It's forgotten. You know.
I would like
So
to share something at after you're done. Something similar. Uh,
yeah. So what happens is, it's at at one particular. In fact, like, if you've noticed, many people, they call it the writer's block. What it's uh, pressure, or you need to write, जबरदस्ती बैठ के या मुझे कुछ आइडिया चाहिए, I need to write. उस वक्त अगर आ नहीं रहा है तो आ नहीं रहा है. It's not, it won't come. It'll come when it needs, when your blocks are gone, and somehow somewhere, like, you're free to imagine, and in your imagination you create.
yeah.
And what you are imagining, you are executing with your skills, which is singing, playing an instrument, or programming, or jotting down on a piece of paper, uh, whichever way. Those are skill sets you have developed to be able to execute your imaginations.
Wonderful. I was just when you were speaking about in creating something instinctively. I remember I was just rolling chapatis one day, and my hands were full of atta, and I this tune was coming to me. And what do
Hmm.
I do? Now, what do I do? Then I had to stop the chapatis. I had to start the recorder in my cell phone so that I don't forget it later. And then I
Yes.
restarted my chapatis. So I know what you're talking about
Absolutely.
exactly. So,
Sometimes it can happen when when you're in a shower. Sometimes it's like in the middle of sleep, just about to fall asleep, or you've fallen asleep. In your sleep, you're hearing something. It this happens. So, knowing theory, your question was about theory, right? Like,
so
where it rests.
my question was when you're doing these vocal arrangements, what
Vocal arrangement.
vocal
Right.
arrangements, what
Correct.
tools
Correct.
from your knowledge do you utilize, or
Right.
is it more a natural process as you
Again, what I'm hearing in my head,
hmm,
what I'm hearing when I'm hearing a certain, there is a melody line which is there, and I feel, okay, at this point, uh it would sound good to give it a few layers, right?
hmm,
So, uh then what kind of voicings do I write for that particular? It could be a four-part harmony, five-part harmony. There could be some moving lines. It's how I feel for that particular line in that context. Context is very important to understand.
Hmm.
If you try to if you don't understand the context within which you're doing that work, right? You could just end up writing uh, too much, which
Hmm.
just doesn't work, overdoing something, or end up writing something that could be pretty jarring and like very out of
Yes.
sync with the overall context. Yes, like sometimes you do find that you have like very simple melody that happens and that stays within a certain diatonic scale, right?
Hmm.
And then so, somebody would try to like harmonize it, like, no, I want to use some very jazz stuff and like,
Hmm.
harmonize it with all of that. If they do not understand uh how the voice leading is very important for you to understand how to write the progression, or what kind of voicings you write, because uh, you don't write something jazzy for the sake of writing something jazzy. Yeah, if it's not, that's not the process, thinking thought process you put into writing something. You need to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, theory you learn, I mean, it's like it is like you study pure maths, right? But at that time you will not understand what am I going to use this for. But you simply find figuring out a way, a process for arriving at a solution for a certain kind of an equation, or bunch of parameters. How do you put a bunch of parameters together, and how do you form an equation, and how do you arrive at a solution for it? Now, it's not going anywhere by itself, it's just very theoretical.
Hmm.
At some point, like, you might come across a system where this you come across this kind of an equation, and then
Hmm.
okay, this is how I'm supposed to solve for the equation and arrive at a solution, right? So you will find its practical applicability in in a place where you don't even know, you wouldn't have thought of when the theory bit was happening, like, eh, how do I
Agree.
explain this?
Agree. No,
uh,
yes.
um,
Understand.
I think it's like it's important to understand the context when you are applying a knowledge that you have already. So your theoretical knowledge is something that you have. Okay, these are these are the harmonic structures, and this is how voice leading works, and this is how the theory is. But if there are so many ways to implement that in any piece of music, but is this does this particular way of working work for this
Yeah.
context, in this context, and for this particular song, or for this particular piece of music that I'm writing, right?
I
That's
think for the
understanding
jigsaw
the
puzzle,
context.
if you're talking about a jigsaw puzzle, you might have many pieces, but not every piece is going to fit into the puzzle. You have to
Exactly.
find the pieces that fit into the jigsaw puzzle. Is I
The right piece at the right place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolute. So that is, and again, that is, see, we are getting into like very gray areas here. Like this also gets into, okay, so it depends on the taste of a person for things,
Hmm.
right? Now, how do you define taste? It's very difficult. I mean, we are in music. We are dealing with so many parameters that that are not measurable.
Yeah.
You can't even define them. In fact, if anything, it's those parameters that define you. Like you're trying to define quality. You can't define quality. It's the quality that defines you.
Yeah. Very well said.
So music has a lot of these parameters which are an intrinsic part of the creation, the process of music, and that is why it is a very subjective thing. why one person likes one piece of music and somebody else doesn't relate to it at all, right? And in fact, that is why I say many people say, like, oh, music is all mathematics. No, I disagree. It is not. Mathematics is very objective. If I give you an equation and ask you to ask 10 people to solve it, they will arrive at the same set of solutions for the equation, right? If I give one particular say emotions, and I want some sad music, okay, a 30-second sad piece of music, somebody and assign it to 10 people, 10 people will come, or 20 people will come up with 20 different pieces of music for the same emotion.
True.
It's very subjective, because the parameters that we deal with in music are very, very subjective. Who's to say this idea is more brilliant than the other one is better than the other, right? It's it's very subjective that way. So
I think it's what you can relate to at that point of time. It might happen that you might not relate to the same piece of music a few years later. You might
exactly.
move on. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that is why uh, we are our own instruments of measurement in that given space and time.
yes,
When you're listening to a piece of music, if it works for you at that particular uh, point of time, it works for you. Then after some time, it may or may not work. There are some that are absolutely timeless classic. Like, you listen to that piece of music, like 30 years, 50 years later, it's still uh, brings joy and tears, or whatever it is. It just makes you so happy, you know
totally. Talking about timeless classics and at the same time contemporary music, I mean, you've had the good fortune of singing some really beautiful solo melodies, which is a
Hmm.
very rare thing in the industry today. And
Yeah.
I don't think we can skip Bhare Naina, the song. I mean, there are so many covers of that song. People sing that song in so many reality shows. I have sung that song in one of my live concerts. I love that song so much.
Huh.
So, and there are so many other songs. I mean, there's one Bhare Naina and there's one Dil Mera Muft Ka. And
Hmm.
that is when I realized that versatility does not mean stepping out of your own element. It means expressing different emotions, staying within the radius of your own personality, because you haven't changed your element anywhere in these two songs. uh,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with you.
Santosh
I agree
Naik
with
is
you.
saying Naina ban padi. There are so
Naina
many.
Banpuri.
Naina ban padi, okay. And the entire album of Beete Pal, Satyajit is saying. So,
Uh,
can you tell us something about the experience of singing these commercial songs and how you brought your element into it, and or it
sure.
was you just decided to be yourself in the
No,
song?
actually, what was happening at that time was um, there was one live show for Sri Ram that where both Vishal Dadlani and I was singing, right?
Mhm.
So after the concert, like they were already working on the soundtrack for Ravan at that time, and so Vishal just said, "Hey, there's one song that we have in mind. I've never worked with you before, but they've known Vishal Shekhar, have known me, like they know so many people, like
Mhm.
they know I exist, but we never got a chance to work together, right?" And so I never worked with you, but there's a song, and uh, we'd like to you to come and just give it a shot and see if it works.
Hmm.
So I said, sure, no problem, and I'll let you know. Then they called me. I went to the studio. I heard the song. I was already recorded in a couple of voices, and I said, "Is this how you want me to sing it? Because this is
Hmm.
not how I would sing it." So like he said, "No, this is not how I want you to sing it. I want you to bring your own thing. You
Hmm.
sing it like a tune. You sing it like a whatever classical, but you take it with you uh, and run with it. I mean, I don't. You can change the melody if you want. You do whatever you want, but." bring something else to this table for this song. So so he said that, and and he disappeared from the studio. There was just me and the sound engineer,
Okay.
and and so I said, okay. Uh, the melody line was, like a ballad, a rock ballad.
Hmm.
Okay, essential melody. Usko I put it into a very semi-classical style,
Hmm.
uh, you know, ठुमरी style music, like
Hmm.
Gaya bhi. And I was not very sure. And then Vishal was very clearly that I don't promise you anything. This may work, this may not work,
Hmm.
but we're just giving it a shot. So, no problem. And उसको बस अपने तरीके से whatever I could at that point of time imagine and do with the existing melody, उसको वैसे करके गा के अपनी तरीके से मैंने गा के जैसे at that time, then both Vishal and Shekhar came back to the studio. They heard what I did and they said, "Yeah, we love it, yeah, but we're not really very sure." हम
Hmm.
लोग the 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 director and the people are they're shooting in the US right now. हम लोग भेज के देखेंगे. If they say yes, then we'll see what they say. I never heard back from them, so I assumed it must have gotten rejected.
Ah. So,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
it came
So
a
for
surprise.
almost yeah, so for almost a year and a half, and I also didn't bother to. I also got busy with my advertising work, and
Hmm.
those were very very hectic years also for me at that point of time. And तो मैं भी भूल गई उसके बारे में. Suddenly, like a year and a half later, just before the launch of a day or two before the launch of the music, Vishal called up and said, "Hey, listen, there's launch happening day after tomorrow. You need to come and sing it on stage." I said, "What?" Like, sing what? I don't even remember what I sang. I don't remember the song. And they're like, "Is my song there on the album?" So like, "Yeah, you didn't know what." So like, who told me? Nobody told me. So I said, like, please have it sent to me. I want to hear it. Uh, फिर बाद में and that is how like that came to be. And apparently later on, then Vishal told me, oh, when we sent it to them, they loved it. We're like, whose voice is this? And all of that happened. And somehow, so I would say I got very lucky. I just happened to be, see, this is one of those things that just happened. Uh,
It,
Not because I intended and went for it that way. Oh, that
it was meant for
Vishal
you.
asking, yeah, Vishal asking me to sing, me going and doing it this way, and that style and everything getting approved. It just fell into place at that point of time, and definitely for me, it was the beginning of a completely. It just put me in a different category of Bollywood singers.
Hmm.
Um, Brought me into the mainstream a lot more, I think, prominently. Varun
Yes.
and I did that. Yeah. And so definitely I have Vishal to thank for his idea at that time. Yeah.
We have a lot of people requesting you to make another album. There's Santosh Naik who's saying Beete Pal took 7 years and we are waiting for the next one.
Yeah, yes, I have to. I have to. It's just that I need to kind of like get a few things together in terms of my health and everything,
Mhm.
and start working again. And the last 2 years of COVID has just completely stalled so many things
For
in
everybody.
terms of, yeah, and
Mm.
everything has become so restricted. The things that I've been wanting to do, haven't been able to do that. And of course it takes its own toll on the health and all of that. तो ठीक है, थोड़ा ठीक हो जाएंगे, then absolutely. mm, mm, uh, love to do.
Yeah.
And I have some ideas also. Yes.
We are really waiting to listen to new music from you. Another thing that
Yeah.
I was wanting to ask you, I also being a mother of a 7-year old, and juggling between being a wife, a mother, a musician, and you've done that too for so
Mhm.
many years and still come up with such brilliant ideas. So some I just wanted to ask you that how is it that you manage your time, or sometimes setting the priorities right, because this is a completely different role. This is a completely different role. Sometimes they clash with each other. It happens with me sometimes that I'm thinking of an idea, a melody, and my daughter wants to tell me something, and you can't break the heart of a 7-year old. So you have to keep pretending to be interested in what she's saying, but in the mind there
Yes.
is something else. So has that happened with
Yes.
you, being wife, a
Absolutely.
mother, and
Yes, constantly, like, in the 24 hours in a day, your priorities keep shifting from moment to moment, right? So, and that is, and you're thinking on your toes. And like my advertising years, I was sleeping 2 to 3 hours a day, not more than that. I wasn't getting more than that. And for that many years. And I still remember, no matter, see, I always used to stay back, mix my track, and then come back. I never left it. Whenever I do a track in the studio, uh, I don't, let's say, okay, my track is done, I've bounced the files, and I, I I'll just do like a rough mix and say, okay, now leave it to the engineer. Pura mixing mastering karke hi I used to come out. So sometimes I would come back home at 12 in the night, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. एंड जल्दी अगर काम खत्म हो गया तो 10 बजे 11 बजे आ गए तो एंड my daughter used to be waiting up for me, and she'll say, Acha, as soon as I walk in through the door, she would say, okay, Mama, now today you have to now teach me coordinate geometry. Today you have to teach me cyclotron. Today you have to teach me mensuration. Right. And she had her lesson ready for me to teach her. And like I've gone to the studio at 9:30 in the morning, and सारा दिन वो हेडफोन्स लगा के टू 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 टिक टिश टिक टिश you are tired, you are exhausted, and then you come back home, and then my daughter would, like, she either I have to teach her or I have to play with her, something or the other would be there. And then my father was also staying with me, so so then my father will have his own bunch of things to say. आज तुम्हारी बेटी ने ये किया, आज उसने मेरी बात नहीं मानी. All of those things. So typical, like things that happen in any household. It's bound to be there, and because my husband was in the army, he was never at home. The entire responsibility of taking care of the house, doing my job, from like little bank work to household stuff, everything, like, I had to kind of shoulder myself. It definitely was a lot uh, to do. And sometimes, like, one wonders, like, maybe if I didn't have so many things to do, maybe I could have like done a lot more in music. Perhaps, it's just a thought, but you never know. It you know family is very, very important, for sure. Children are very important, and you can't neglect any one of them. But you can't neglect music, you can't neglect your work, and when you're on your job, you have to give your 100% there at that point of time.
Totally.
So yeah, what ends up happening is that we end up taxing ourselves a lot because of that. And over a period of time, at least I would say, in my experience, I think that is what kind of drained me out and exhausted me, burnt me out uh, a lot, because I was really very exhausted. And it takes a lot of time, a long time, for that fatigue and that exhaustion to come out of your system, you know? because it's stress constantly. It's stress. It came to a point like where the doctor had to say, "Madam, you're going to have to like stop working. You can't work like this and expect to have, you know, a healthy body and and have a
Mind
great
also.
life. It's not going to work like this. You're going to put a stop to it." And I realized that was when I stopped doing advertising. It really got to that point. We women have a tendency to kind of overload ourselves, but yeah, you definitely need to prioritize, and it's not like your priority remains the same. Your prior like over a period of time, in one day your priority could change from moment to
Yes,
moment, from minute to minute. So that's how you kind of manage.
yes.
But
I
I'll say this for sure, you know, that make sure that you don't exhaust yourself,
That's a very
because
important message.
yeah, you
Oh,
don't make sure you don't exhaust yourself, because what happens to you because of the exhaustion, like your children will grow up, they'll go go away, uh, but then you are left to deal with your own health and whatever
mhm.
issues, and at that time nobody's going to be there to help you. So it's very important that you know, you don't exhaust yourself
A
doing
very
this.
important message to all the lovely people listening to this conversation. We have Richa Devraj also. Hi, Richa. She's loving the conversation. She says she's a wonderful singer herself. And there is Milind who has asked a very interesting question. How do you relate creativity with spirituality?
Yeah, see, spirituality to me is that uh, process inside your mind where you have no doubts. Your belief is very strong,
Yes.
right? And definitely, um, being thinking and feeling and understanding music in itself is by itself a very spiritual process. And if that focus is not there, that idea also will not come into your mind.
Yeah.
Having said that, I definitely do distinguish between the parts of the processes, um, where you have music on one side, where you can be completely spiritually focused there. But then the other side, there is also a human personality, which, you know, the personality of the person, you know, the human being, the kind of person you are. Some people can have a dichotomy there, and you know, they can be fantastic musicians but absolutely terrible human beings,
Mhm.
you know. um,
Yeah.
there is so I from my experience, a personality uh, uh, is, unless the person, how do I put it, a person can be a great musician and still be a terrible human being, but not everybody is that way. There are people who've managed to kind of like bring the two together, great human beings, very spiritual, and that spirituality comes through in their music also. But then you'll see the other kind. Some people can make that shift between being uh, not so nice people, not trustworthy or
Mhm.
dishonest people, and play great music. They
Yes.
can somehow shift,
The-
like they, as though they are two different compartments, right? So for me, but being spiritual, to me personally, my understanding is that means being a good person to me.
Hmm.
So does it mean that those kind of people, when they play music, they are not spiritual? I think there's something spiritual, something very naturally spiritual when they do music, but somehow they seem to forget that spirituality when they deal with people
Hmm.
otherwise. But if you let that run as a continuum in you, no matter what you do, whether you're a mother or you're a working person, 24 hours a day, you keep that spirituality intact. It'll be there in your music, it'll be there in your persona, in the way you are as a person, in your dealings with other people, all of these things. It's a very important relationship. Otherwise, people are mentally divided, inside their minds. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. I don't know. That's how. Uh,
I think he just wanted to know your opinion. It's about not about right and wrong at all.
yeah.
Uh,
I and again, like, how does that person understand what a spirituality? It also depends. Different people understand spirituality in different ways. It means different things to each person. So, if somebody can tell me what they think is spirituality, I can probably like answer more specifically to that. But
uh,
for me, life itself is a I mean, if you live your life in a very spiritual manner, um, I think you would be by far the most successful,
hmm,
because then you define your own success.
nice. Uh, there are many people have been wanting to listen to you, Nandini, but as we all know, it's not a very great
Somebody
day
I
for
think
you, and
somebody I asked me about the process behind Naina Banpadi, I think.
नहीं, बीते पल, your album, I think. Yes, let me
Aha,
go.
process behind Naina Banpadi or Beete Pal title track. Yeah. Niyant. Um, Naina Banpadi again. Um, for me, the groove came first.
Mhm.
It was that was the first thing that came to me. And then when I put that idea down, for me the rhythm section was set, the groove.
Ah,
And then I wanted you know to write something in a rag that is not very usually heard. Mm.
hmm,
So somehow I went at that moment, I went into Nandkons,
hmm,
and I said it would be nice to see what happens with ragas. There is a reason why a particular raga has a is called a raga. A raga has a certain chalan. It has a certain vibe. Is uska ek arohan, ek avrohan chalan. You have there are aspects of it's not just a mere scale, where it's just like, okay, these bunch of notes are there, and then that is a raga. That's not how it is. उसकी अपनी एक खासियत होती है.
hmm,
That is why it is called that particular raga.
hmm,
It's not just the presence of those notes. So I always particularly with film songs, many people like to ask कि ये कौन सा राग है. ये राग नहीं है, इस राग पर आधारित हो
आधारित
सकता है
गाना.
पे कुछ, लेकिन वो राग का चलन नहीं है. Okay, you may have similar notes as the raga, but it's not the same chalan.
Hmm,
Vadi swara hota hai, samvadi swara hota hai. All of these aspects create a raga. So something I wanted to do based on Nandkons,
hmm,
because somehow at that moment मेरे दिमाग में वो चल रहा था. So then I decided I'll take this Meera bhajan, and I said, why not? I take the Meera bhajan and see what I can do
do.
with it. So for me then it was also बाद में तो it also became ठीक है, it's a Meera bhajan being presented in a very contemporary
Mhm.
uh, fashion or whatever, but that was not how it began. I just decided to take Meera bhajan because somehow I like, uh, I don't know. I think like somebody else is this whole seeing spirituality everywhere is also
Mhm.
something that naturally comes to me. So I love bhajans,
Me
uh,
too.
and and so I decided to take, okay, this Meera bhajan because they are written in a very simple format, very easily doable. तो फिर उसमें then I composed the melody
Mhm.
based on this. But then, of course, it is only based, but I took enormous liberties uh, with the melody, and then when it came to production, yes, once I had completed the idea, it was lying with me like for 3 years, 4 years, I think. It was just lying like that. And while I was doing the album, I was not really very sure if I'll ever complete it. Is it going to go anywhere? But it so happened that like suddenly एक वो वक्त आया when I found the musicians and I said, okay, I want to record this song with Atma Anur on drums.
Mhm.
And I was at I was in Chennai at that time. I think I was there for a workshop, like I was taking a programming workshop, production workshop in SAM. So Atma Anur was there. Then there were a couple of guitarists. There was Prasanna also there. So I said, okay, like let me get these guys on board and get them to play. Atma's groove, he played it slightly differently than the way I had programmed the drums. Okay,
Mhm.
but I thought this was really very beautiful. And he brought in his own, bit of a change in the groove,
Mhm.
in the sense that where he brought in the accents, it just changed the way it grooves, and
Mhm.
where I had the accent was slightly different. But this was beautiful too. And then there was Steve Zerlin who played the bass. तो वो उस वक़्त डिसाइड किया कि भई चलो, ये लोग अभी हैं, सामने खड़े हैं, चलो इनको स्टूडियो ले जाते हैं, रिकॉर्ड कर लेते हैं।
Nice.
वो गाना वैसे हो गया। देन ऑफ कोर्स आई ब्रॉट बैक ऑल द ट्रैक्स एंड आई डिड पोस्ट प्रोडक्शन वर्क एंड वो सब हुआ, बट अ, इट वाज़ समथिंग दैट जस्ट उस वक़्त पे वो गाना खत्म हो गया इन द वे आई
Mhm.
वांटेड इट। एंड द बीते पल, the title song which is there, when I wrote it, it started off actually as a many years back. There was some ad I was supposed to work on, and I had just written some dummy lyrics and uh, this melody. And वो चार line में खत्म होके then it would go into a commercial end, like with uh, that particular brand name being sung and all of
Mhm.
that. So it got rejected. They didn't like the melody. So, but it
Mhm.
was lying there. I loved it, you know. So I said, इसका मैं तो गाना बनाऊंगी एक दिन.
Mhm.
मुझे अच्छा लगता है. And that eventually, like one day I sat and wrote more of that music, and it became Beete Pal's song. But when I first produced it, it was drums, there was percussion, bass, strings, there's piano, there's that huge, it was a heavy arrangement I had. But every time I heard the song, so like something is missing, something is missing. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. But this is not what I want to finally hear.
Mhm.
And it was a block also in my head. Something got stuck. कि um, ये melody तो ठीक है, but ये arrangement is not. And I kept adding and something. I kept trying other things, but nothing was working for me. And I lived with that strings and all of that arrangement for more than 3 years.
Hmm.
And at the end of 3 years, when I still heard Beatapel, it was like, no, man, something is missing. I don't know what it is. Then one fine day, I said, maybe I'm just, uh, what if I just strip everything off, remove everything, and make it just a voice and guitar song? Everything else in that would be, little bit of, yeah, to give it a bit of a graph and one little melody in between. But essentially, a guitar and voice song from a very heavily produced song,
Mhm.
groove and everything, rhythm section, lots of string arrangements and everything. I removed everything. And when I made it into that simple, just voice and guitar song, थोड़ा सा इधर से shaker लगा दिया,
Hmm.
little embellishments, very, very, very little stuff. I said, this is it.
Finally, it pleased you.
Yes. That was when I said, yes, this is it. This is how I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to do more than. So ये जो चीजें, these iterations which happen, also happen over a period of time. Sometimes you get stuck. You don't you can't put your finger on it. You don't know, something doesn't feel all right, but you don't know what is it that's making you feel that way. You can't give an explanation. नहीं जम रहा है. I don't know what it is. And then suddenly you do something else which is very drastically different. जब बहुत सारा कपड़ा पहनाते हैं, वो ऐसा क्रिसमस ट्री जैसे ना, लाइक टू मच decoration just doesn't work. Just
Yeah.
remove everything and keep very simple, and you start from scratch all over again. And somewhere, something along the way, just kind of everything then falls into place. And I am so finicky about my music, till it sounds absolutely fine to me. It's going to bother me.
Hmm.
I won't be able to get over it. Listen, some ये ठीक करना है, that kind of a thing. तो वो ठीक करने तक वो मेरा मेरा दिमाग भी चैन से नहीं चुप रहेगा.
Let's.
It's it was like that with pretty much everything. So that is why Beatapal also, because I used to do advertising. It's a very stressful job, advertising, because constantly you're on, the pressure is very high. You have to deliver and deliver what is needed, and everybody wants it yesterday.
Hmm.
Time constraints हैं. So constantly you're working under pressure, like you really get tired and exhausted. And most importantly, it's also the fact that you're not doing music the way you understand music. You're just doing something, you're delivering something for somebody else's requirement. It becomes like a job. It's not music. It's just another job that you do
Hmm.
related to music. Others call it music. I don't. It's like
Hmm.
it's that kind of a feel, right? तो भाई ये करना है, ठीक है, जाके करो. It exhausts you. तो कभी देयर विल बी डेज व्हेन, लाइक, ओके, 3-4 दिन कोई काम नहीं है, ठीक है, रिलैक्स करो. देन आई वुड जस्ट व्हाटएवर आइडियाज, आई विल जस्ट काइंड ऑफ लाइक पुट इट डाउन. वो एक बहुत बेसिक आइडिया बन के वो उधर कंप्यूटर पे बैठा रहेगा.
Hmm.
देन आई लुक एट इट आफ्टर मे बी लाइक 7 months डाउन द लाइन, 1.5 years डाउन द लाइन. चलो, ये इट इज साउंडिंग गुड, इसमें कुछ है, इसको डेवलप करते हैं आइडिया को. दैट इज हाउ Beatapal eventually. And then there were a couple of extra songs also. But when I decided to put the songs together for Beatapal, I said, like, okay, those songs are like so way out that they're not going to gel with this thread of Beatapal. So वो कहीं और देखेंगे. इस पहले Beatapal में ये 9 गाने डाल लेते हैं, because they kind of sit together.
But still, nine
Although
songs is a lot. I mean,
yeah,
that itself is an accomplishment. Yeah.
took a long time to do that, but yeah. Uh, Absolutely. So it happens. There's a lot of, see, the thing about this musical industry is there's a lot of uncertainty. The process of music itself is at times will bring in certain amount of uncertainty. You may be
Mhm.
very sure about your own musicality, you know, like I know this is what I know, and this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and when I do this job, वो इस लेवल के नीचे वो गिर नहीं सकता। और जब
Hmm.
तक वो एक स्टैंडर्ड जो मैंने खुद अपने दिमाग में सेट करके रखा हुआ है कि जब तक ये स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है, इसके बिलो गिरना नहीं है।
Yeah.
Well, you have your good days and bad days. Okay, some days you're like able to really perform very well, and sometimes like it's not so great, but it's not so bad. But एक स्टैंडर्ड सेट करके रखते हैं कि भाई इसके नीचे तो एक्सेप्टेबल ही नहीं है, खुद को एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है, बाकी किसी को हो ना हो,
Hmm.
you know. So those are the things, if you kind of uh, bear in mind, ऐसे वैसे it's a matter of that moment in time, चीजें हो जाती हैं, कभी कभी नहीं होती है, you just kind of like take it in your stride and move on, it's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
life is like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nandini, for being with
I
us.
thought I
And
chose one more question.
time.
Somebody has asked one
Yeah,
question about
that's what I'm looking at. There are many people who.
uh, whether programming is a lucrative business or something like that. ऐसा
One
कुछ कभी तो आया था।
second. Programming is a lucrative business. Let me see who asked it. No, I don't see that question. But one, 1 second. Have I
Well, I
missed it?
think it is still a good question.
Yeah, it's a good
I think
question.
I will just kind of very briefly say that
Yeah.
it is lucrative if once you have cracked it, like once you've made it, it is definitely you can make plenty of money. There's plenty of work for that. But
There's the
till
question.
till you
Yeah. Here, the someone is. Yeah. The question is a career in music production lucrative? What should someone just starting out know? By Supraja. This question was
huh,
not there, and LivDemy, Satyajit has just brought this question to us now. Yes, great.
correct. So yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's now when you say lucrative, I understand it as being monetarily lucrative. Like you
Mhm.
make um, so that is something that will happen only once you're established,
Hmm.
and you know that you are getting a lot of opportunities and there's plenty of programming work, and yes, definitely you have a chance to make good money there. But will you crack it is a big question. The before you make it big, you reach that point where you are very much in demand and you get a lot of work. There are years of struggle, and every programmer I know has struggled 6 7 years,
Hmm.
with 2 hours of sleep, practically no sleep, sometimes working 22 hours a day, sometimes not sleeping for 2 3 days, living literally like the bachelor pad, constantly working. You don't get paid very well in the beginning, sometimes you don't get paid at all.
All.
It's a very very different kind of a, it's a very huge struggle. If you have the patience and the resilience to go through that kind of initial phase and still keep your talent intact, keep your production ideas intact, and musicality intact, and at the same time have a good attitude towards work, definitely I mean it's a chance you can take. I mean, can I say that definitely you will make it big? No, that's very difficult to say, because at, you can only try, you can give it a shot, is all I would say. I mean, that's as encouraging as I can get. But you should not be afraid of struggling. Yes.
it's there, it's a part of life. Any profession you
Yes,
choose, I believe every job has its own struggle. Being
yes,
being a homemaker is a struggle. Being anything in this world is a struggle, but if you have the passion, I guess you have to give it a shot.
yes. Absolutely. It's what you are willing to put of yourself and you're willing to go through. Because while it's very easy for us to see those cases which have done very well,
Hmm.
they are the ones that stand out. Hey, the person started, itna struggle kiya aur itna sab pura ho gaya. Like person has like really made it very big. Yes, but there are so many that have left after a few years and have given up and gone back to doing something else. And there are plenty like that too. So if you want to be realistic, you it's good to look at success stories. It's also equally realistic to look at the not so successful stories.
Hmm.
So, but that doesn't mean you don't give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it a try, and see, maybe your destiny and your luck will take you, make you very successful. Who knows? You don't stop trying because, oh, maybe I will not make it. That's not how you start out though. that's
It's a
that's what
very,
I would say.
very encouraging answer and very realistic also at the same time.
Yeah, I am somebody who's very uh I don't know. I like knowing I'm being realistic, and in fact, like when I came in earlier, people used to say, "Ah, like if I'm making some mistake, uh, people would never tell me, oh, you're making this mistake. You should have done this, or you should have not done this, or you could have done this better like this." Nobody ever told me. People were just generally very polite. Ah, nice, nice, nice. I never learned. I never knew I was making a mistake. I didn't know how to even like assess if that see. But then what happens, like, um at that time, then I used to, I wished, somebody had told me point blank on my face that,
Hmm.
"भाई, ये देखो ना, ये ऐसा होता है, इस चीज को ऐसे करना चाहिए, उसमें जो है, like it's a very simple thing, like initially when I started doing advertising, I was so into doing music, like, and people would ask me to do something which was very unmusical, and I would like say, why do you want to do that? And I would get into like one discussion with them कि जब आपको अच्छा म्यूजिक और इससे अच्छा म्यूजिक आपको मिल सकता है, why do you want something that is so that rankles ears like this? And they would try and tell me, "No, but this is the requirement for the film." So like, but you have a film, you have an opportunity to put good music. Put na, I'm giving you good music. I used to like try and give music. I said, we don't want music, we want sound that works for the
Hmm.
film. You see, um, and it's quite possible that, like, I might have kind of uh, so like, I Nandini, just do this now, bas, ऐसे वो हो जाता. Maybe at that time if somebody told me, had explained to me, yeah, advertising is not about music, it is
Hmm.
about doing that which is needed. वो पहले ही समझा देता तो I wouldn't have wasted my energy arguing with
Hmm.
people, right? Something like that. I mean, little things like that. uh like, if I have always wished people had been a little more, uh, if at all, at any point, if they felt like, okay, I wasn't doing something right, or I wish they told me, yeah, this is the way it works. लोग बोलने के लिए भी डरते हैं. People
Hmm.
just like very polite and nice, and say, हाँ, everything is great, everything is great, चले जाते हैं. But then when things work out very different, you start wondering, like, where did I go wrong? What went wrong? You are left to figure out for yourself and find the solution, and that was a headache for me, you know
Yeah.
so and that is why, like, I feel, यार कोई बताता क्यों नहीं है? तो एटलीस्ट बताने से ये है तो हमको समझ में आता कि भाई, ठीक है, दिस इज वेयर आई नीड टू इम्प्रूव माई सेल्फ. कर
I guess
लेते ना
people
क्यों.
need to be open about their struggle stories also. People just share success stories, but if they are open about their struggles or their failures also, most people who are wanting to
Absolutely.
try out will not be afraid because this is not abnormal. I,
Absolutely. See,
uh,
I don't know why people would be ashamed of saying that, nee, but something like this did not work out for me, or either they make it such a sob story. I struggled so much for so many years, and then one fine day, like it's not that. The struggles are of a very different nature, and the failures are of a different kind. And um, it is, I think it is really important to give a very realistic picture. किसी से पूछो, how what do you think of the industry, what do you think? Oh, it's beautiful, it has taught me this, it has taught me that. People will like wax eloquent about what they have learned and speak only the positives. Yes, I'm not saying everything is negative, no, there are lots of positive things also, but then uh, what the hurt that you have gone through, the times when you have been through something and all you could do was come back home, close the doors and just cry,
hmm,
and at that time nobody was there to like kind of see you cry. Why did you cry? What was it that hurt you? Why would you not talk about it?
yeah,
It's these are things that people go through, but nobody talks about them, so everybody else gets the impression, oh, this is so glamorous, and this is everything is so hunky dory. No, I mean, it's work like any other work. You're
hmm,
going to be hurt, you're going to fail, you're going to fall, and you're going to learn to like deal with all kinds of people, and you're going to learn one step at a time and take it in your stride, and that's how it's going to function. And I'm sure
lovely.
it is so for every profession. It's not just this.
Exactly.
It's there everywhere else. It's just that this profession does not have a system in place. Because there is no system, you're only as good as your last job. You don't
Hmm,
know where your next job is coming from, so your struggles are like manifold. It's like from multiple directions
hmm.
you struggle. Mm, so it is important. So what is it that we need to have to be able to go through all of this? You need to have patience. You need to have resilience.
Okay.
Lots of patience. अगर नहीं है तो ये ठोक ठोक के सिखा देगा ये industry to have patience and resilience. That's how it is. But it doesn't mean you should be afraid of. No, never be afraid of anything in life. Ups and downs are part and parcel of life. Up जितना up जाता है, down भी उतना down जाता है. It's okay. Everything is okay. Just go with it. See what you can give from you. God has given you something, some kind of a gift, and you need to share that gift with people in whatever manner that you can. That is my spiritual take on whatever gift I have, and as and when I can, and in the best way I can, mm, I will do whatever I can.
Beautiful. And there's Mahesh Raghavan. Thank you, Mahesh, for joining the session. He's such a wizard and a fabulous musician. And thank you, Mahesh, for being with us. And thank you to all the people, Richa, Sharayu, Anjali, Nandini, Milind, everybody who joined the session and made this talk so much interesting. And thank you,
I don't know.
Satyajit.
I hope it has been helpful and interesting for everybody.
It was very realistic, very motivating, very eye opening. So it was everything in bits and parts. So for me,
Yes,
uh,
my apologies to everybody. I just have not been able to sing today because of my health. But hopefully, I will next time.
definitely.
I will do that.
Nandini is also here. There's many Nandinis. Okay, so there is Nandini Shankar, the wonderful violinist, Mahesh and Nandini, both of them. And
Okay.
there's Nandini Gaikwad, and there's Nandini Srikar.
Oh my. All the Nandini talking to Nandinis. Nice,
And
nice, very nice. It was
I,
lovely, lovely talking to you too, Nihira. It's like
same here.
amazing. I mean, if anybody else has any questions, please do ask. I'll be
Yes.
happy to tell you what I know.
Anybody else with any questions? Uh, no, I guess because I think we've covered a lot, and of course, I mean, I am no replacement to Nandini's singing in any way, but oh yeah, Satyajit. I would have liked to ask her about her ad jingles career.
Sure. What do you want to know? Like
Sat-
anything specific?
Anything, please? That's a long one.
It's okay. I mean, I'll try and be as brief as possible. There's really not too many interesting things you can say about advertising. It basically somebody wants to sell a product, somebody makes a film, you're called in to make the music for that particular film. So basically, it's not music. It's sound, some kind of a sound format that works like a background score.
Hmm.
Sometimes, depending on the film, they ask for jingles, like where it's a song. And what is important, what you learn very importantly in the ad films, like in 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds, you
Hmm.
learn to tell a story for a product, and in that you learn to read a film. Reading the film is really very important. Each director reads his film in a very different manner. And
Hmm.
so when you're working with different directors, you learn the perspectives. Okay, how is this director reading his film? How is that director reading his film? And so that is what is the purpose of any music for or any sound for a film. It's to accentuate certain parts, and there are two ways of accentuating, either with a loud thud or a bang, or complete silence.
Hmm.
Some sound that enhances the emotion of that moment. So, so as a musician, it's not about creating music, but you just use elements of sound, place them in the right place to enhance the film. There
Hmm.
have been occasions where, like, the music, I have gone about being very, very musical, and the director has like completely registered the music is too good. I don't want music overpowering my film.
Hmm.
What I need is something that just comes and goes and does this at this point. This is there are these are the important points in my film. These are the things that need to be accentuated. That's all I want. I don't want music.
Hmm.
So people are, when people are very clear about what they want, it's easier to deliver. Sometimes what happens is most of your struggle while making an ad, the process of ad film is you don't the person who gives you a brief is not very clear, not very sure what he wants. So he's just going to talk in terms of emotions. I need this to feel like this. I need
Hmm.
that bit to feel like this. Now, any piece of music that I create, that I for me it may mean that emotion, but it it doesn't mean it necessarily mean that that piece of music brings about the same feeling to the other person also, right? Because that's how you it's the same music need not necessarily have the same kind of effect.
On
uh,
every.
Absolutely. So then when you put a first try, and then you play it and it says, yeah, but this is not what I want. Like I need something which is more, it's emotional, yet it is very happy. It is this, but that. They'll come up with a lot of words which seem like diametrically opposite, and sometimes it can be very confusing. What does this guy really want? And part of the struggle, in fact most of the struggle, is actually figuring out what the person wants
Hmm.
and locking in on that. Sometimes it goes into several trials before you arrive at, okay, this I'm okay with this, but this I need you to change. Okay, so you go about changing. It's that process of understanding perspective, understanding what the other person is looking for, and how understanding how the other person is reading his film. That is what the essential process of ad filmmaking is. And sometimes what happens is you have some films where you have just montage. There isn't anything great happening. There's no story. It's not going from
Hmm.
anywhere to anywhere. It's montage. So when you want to enhance a film that just runs on bunch of just visuals, beautiful visuals, then they say, okay, we want a jingle that stands out.
Hmm.
Then you write a song which is then you think in terms of music and a song.
Hmm.
So, and making music for ads as opposed to making music for films, you see, it's a film, it's an audiovisual medium. In that sense, they are both the common. There's a commonality. Feature film is a longer film. An ad film is a very, very ultra short film, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds. Now, in ad films, every second counts
Hmm.
because only there's only 30 seconds of space or 40 seconds of space. Everybody will get into the nitty gritty of what sound is there in every second of the film. उतनी मतलब बाल की खाल उतार के उतनी discussions भी होती हैं. 10 people will have 10 different opinions. All of those things, they do happen. In fact, it is more this process that actually becomes more stressful than anything else. Making music is the easiest part. In a feature film, the feature film is a bigger sonic scape. It's a bigger canvas. It's a slower way of establishing the characters, the story, and then the story, by the time you end, you have its own graphs, you have your suspense, you have your things. The way the story is told in a feature film is very, very different. It's not like 30 second mein kahani khatam. So then you need to have your build up,
Hmm.
you and then you need to go with the pace of the film, the color of the film, and उसमें अच्छा ये ऐसा है तो फिर what is the director looking to establish at that particular point. Sometimes there'll be some scene where somebody might think नहीं यार ये तो इसको थोड़ा कट शॉर्ट करना है इसको डोंट कीप इट सो लॉन्ग वी डोंट नीड इतने इसको एडिट आउट कर दो. But something in the mind of the director says, no, I want to retain this shot and this shot and this shot, and I want it for such a length of time. If you remove the music from there, if you keep silence out there, वहां से गाड़ी आई, एक वाइड एंगल शॉट है, फिर बाद में पहिए, फिर क्लोज अप एंगल आ रहा है, and then it is going in some other direction, and you will have 4 or 5 shots and everything is moving slowly. Almost you might spend a minute and a half on just the gadi arriving scene, right? Now if you have no music out there, imagine what will happen. The audience is not likely to, yeah, this is dragging on. So but you still want to give time to the audience to settle down to receive the next bit of information that is going to come from there, right? You need to give that time. The
Hmm.
director wants to give that time. मैं 1.5 minutes लगाऊंगा गाड़ी आने में, उसके बाद गाड़ी में से कौन उतरेगा वो एक बार धमाका वाला होएगा. But from my previous scene, I want to give this much of mental space to my audience before I arrive at the other blast. Right? You understand? It's a process of storytelling. So you're going to have to carry that storytelling process with your music, with your background score, and flow with it. The flow is very, very important at that point of time. So that is the basic difference. You have a lot of time to tell your story in a feature film. In ads, you every second counts,
It's about a
matters.
product or
Yes,
whatever
yes.
the
Ad is about products. Somebody wants to sell soaps, shampoos, whatever. They have a product they want to sell. The film is made for that, and it's the purpose of it is to sell. Here, somebody wants to sell a story, tell you a story, and it gives you a bigger canvas to work on.
beautifully explained the difference between them. And you've worked in both the areas, both the fields,
Yeah,
both as a
yes, absolutely.
producer and as a singer also. Both.
As a singer, yes, I have done production mostly for ad films,
Had.
feature films. Uh, I've done
Okay.
some long length documentary films, but I have not gone full fledged into feature films because it's months and months of work,
Yeah.
months and
As a
months of work.
singer, but you've done songs for films, and
Yes,
that's what
yes,
one question is about. There's right now this question popped up. Amrita is asking. I had a question about the process of arranging the unplugged version with the guitar for Bhare Naina. What is your approach
yes.
to what types of chords you use and how those chords would enhance your vocals, etc.?
Yeah. See, again, you have a melody, right? Now that melody flows in a particular manner. When you, how do I explain this? I mean, if when I'm hearing the melody, I'm hearing the chords behind already in my head. Okay. Um. So, how do I put it? Like for instance, in Bhare Naina, the original song had a certain set of arrangements which work for the film in that particular scene and all of that. But I was looking at it as a song
Hmm.
outside of um, outside of the canvas of the feature film. For me, it's a song, a separate entity, right? And when I look at it as a song, then um, like I don't know, when I'm singing the melody, the I'm hearing the chords and I'm just playing it, and then like I worked out, okay, fine, is this sounding better, is this sounding better, oh, why I can use like an A7 here, or D major seventh here, or something like that, some, because there is a certain kind of chord sounds I like to hear fundamentally, you know. So generally, like in any song that I produce myself, um I do bear in mind the voicings that I use, and when I play chords on the keyboards, or piano, um and then I do like to give it a color, almost every chord some kind of a color,
Hmm.
and not just keep it like a typical triad, like C, F, G, or
Hmm.
whatever. It doesn't matter whatever chords you use. A typical triad uh, root voicing. You know, it's a mm, to me sonically it sounds very boring.
Hmm.
I like, because it's my thing. I love listening to colors in the sound. I tend to use a lot of extended chords and then inversions, and
Hmm.
because to me that sounds better. So you have chord extensions, and sometimes, mm, sometimes it could be within the diatonic itself. Sometimes it could be outside also. It depends. It depends again on the context. Uh, but even if I use a simple major or a minor chord, it would always be an extended chord. It would never be
Hmm.
a fundamental triad, just three note chord played as is. It
Hmm.
would never. There would be a ninth, or there could be a sixth. There could be something else.
Hmm.
Mm. added always. There is a little color because that is fundamentally my taste for chords. Whenever I hear melody, my tendency, what I automatically hear in my head is with the color
Hmm.
when I'm hearing a melody. Dun, da, 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 da. There, I was playing, I think, a sus2 there. Da, 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 da. So I was playing dominant seventh chord there. Da, 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 da. Then uh, no, I was starting on E, right? Yeah. Da, 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 da. There was an A sus2. It was not an E major major. It was an E dominant seventh. So or I'll give it some movement from E major to E dominant seventh. That kind of a thing. So I will play what I like to hear, and I like to
Hmm.
hear colors, and that's how I work around my music. And that was the same thing I did with the Bhari Naina also, where I treated it
Ah,
as a song, a separate entity, and the way I heard the melody, uh, I decided to play chords that way. I
hi,
Hi,
Amrita.
can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Hi Nandini ji, it's such a privilege to be here. I'm like your biggest fan.
Hi. What's
It's
your
just
name?
Amrita. I'm Amrita.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Okay. How old are you?
I'm 16. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
You,
I
she looks
sing
like an
here
8 year old.
locally.
She looks like
Yeah.
an 8 year old. Okay.
So yeah, I just sing here in like locally in the Bay Area. Not too much,
Oh,
but
okay.
I really love your songs and just your style. I personally resonate with your style, and yeah.
Thanks.
So when you have artists that resonate with your style, there's nothing more that touches your heart. So just an honor to be here, in front of you. I never thought this day would come. So
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jaya. I'm so happy uh, to see very young people taking into uh, music that is a little more mature. I mean, like uh,
yeah,
it's again like there are different kinds of music, and the kind of music young people listen to, sometimes it scares me. I say, like, I don't know what's the world coming to. It feels like that, but then when you see something like this, you have I do see a lot of young people who love classical music, classical based stuff. Good taste for good mature music, so it's I I feel okay, great. The world is all
Mhm.
is well in the world.
Mhm.
Amrita,
Yeah.
why don't
So
you say, uh,
sure. Just a little thing before. Actually, I was asked to sing a song in front of you, and I
Sure.
was like, I want to sing Bharinena.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All
so
right.
I remember I listened to your rendition on YouTube some a while back, like I think 2 to 3 years back,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw I asked the question, the chords you used, and personally I love using sus2, sus4, add 9, 7. I just love those kind of chords, and I completely like agree with what you're saying. Whenever I sing it with like normal chords, it just sounds very, it sounds, there's like one level to it, but layers. It sounds more
Right.
colorful. Like this,
Yes.
it's just colors, right? So,
Right.
um, I think that's just, I don't know, but
That was
so I
exactly what I was saying. It's about colors. If you have a taste for it, and that's what you like, automatically your imagination also, like when record something keeps playing inside your head, right? Like there's the
right.
sounds, and there's sometimes voices or in your head, like you just hear them inside. That's what you will hear, because that's what you want, you love. Your imagination will play that to you. So then automatically when you hear that in your head, you execute what you hear in your head, and that's how you create your music.
Right, right. So, if you don't mind, I'm gonna, this is my humble attempt at your song, which is
Lovely.
just.
No, no, no. You're most welcome, and definitely, I don't mind at all. I mean, I'm so happy. I'll get to hear somebody sing the song.
So yeah, just please excuse my mistakes. I'm just
Oh no,
singing
it's
from
okay.
like the original singer, so it's a little yeah. क्यों न बोले मुझसे मोहन क्यों है रूठे रूठे मोहन कैसे मनाऊं, हाय कैसे मनाऊं, क्यों न बोले मुझसे मोहन क्यों है रूठे रूठे मोहन कैसे मनाऊं है कैसे मनाऊं उन बिन कटे न रहना उन बिन आए न एक पल चलना उन बिन जिया तो कैसे मैं जिया है बहने ना भरे मरे नैना जाने मोरे नैना मोहे नैना सुने नहीं कहना भरे मोरे नैना बहने ना भरे मोरे नैना झरे मोरे नैना मोहे नैना सुने नहीं कहना भरे मोरे नैना क्यों न बोले मुझसे मोहन क्यों है रूठे रूठे मोहन यूं कैसे मनाऊं हाय कैसे
Lovely.
thank you so much.
Sorry. Lovely, lovely, Vita, lovely.
Very well
Very
sung.
nice. Very,
Yeah,
very,
I
very sweet
I
of
really
you.
got inspired by the one at I think Music Club.
Yes, music love.
Yeah, so that was just a little humble attempt. Um,
No, very good. And in fact, uh, what you could definitely mm, uh, when you're listening to chords, are you listening to the? You can do a little more ear training, and I think I put out the chord chart somewhere. I have to check for it.
yeah, Satu uncle he sent it to me.
He sent it to you. Excellent.
Yeah, so there's like the notation. I don't know if that was your own handwriting, right?
It would be.
Uh,
Because I
yeah,
wrote it myself. Yeah.
yeah. I
So
don't know if it's on the internet, but it's definitely.
because I did put it out on Twitter or something. I forgot. It was a long back.
Oh.
But it's there. But yeah, I mean, it's movements. It's obvious to me that you love a certain kind of a sound,
Mm.
and you just keep playing and keep listening to a lot of stuff which have all these colors automatically. You will hear things in a certain way, and then you just keep developing your skill, and level 1, level 2, level 3, just keep doing, and then one day you'll be doing a great job.
Thank you so
I
much
just had one
for
more.
encouraging her, and I'm certain it's a huge honor and I don't know, moment of joy for Amrita to
Yeah.
be appreciated by Nandini.
uh, yeah, I just when I'm jogging or when I just listen to Harjaya from Queen. It's just my
Ah,
go-to
ah.
song, for sadness. So
You're only 16. You're not allowed to be sad. Not
uh,
allowed.
but it just
What will
gives
we
that.
do? Oh,
um so I just it's just one of my favorite songs, and I can't explain how like happy I am. Like it's unreal to be here. So.
no, I'm so happy to hear this, and in fact, it's I don't know. I feel very good when I see young people, and there's so much more information available, internet and classes and stuff like that, which never used to be there when we were kids. We had to kind of figure out pretty much everything on our own and make the most of it. I'm telling you, because this journey of yours, in the beginning itself, like at this stage, you get to learn so much, and there's so much which is there available for you to um, learn, and it's a great time um, to to set your fundamentals, um, and keep them very strong. Then after that, you keep developing on your own, and one day you'll develop your own style, your own way of doing things. Those things will fall into place. You get your fundamentals like really very strong. It's a beautiful place to start.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask a question, if you don't mind,
Oh,
about
sure, sure.
your, how involved you are in, not involved, but how invested you are in, like, what's your favorite genre? So is it rock, or would you say that I can't pick, but I love fusion, or what's your, like, input on that? Like, I've always wanted to know your favorite genre.
I actually don't believe in genres.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
just something that we use to kind of
Yeah.
put things systematically in boxes and say, okay, when I want to say, oh, I want hip hop kind of music on this, or I want to listen to some hip hop. So it's just a way for you to say that's the kind of, you've given a name to a certain kind of music that fall into a certain box, and say, okay, that's what I want to listen to. But actually there's just two categories: good music and bad music, right? Yeah, so you could have, in hip hop you could have some good stuff and some terrible stuff, and you can have some good and terrible stuff in classical as well.
Right.
Just because something is classical doesn't mean everything is
Mm. Very
like
true.
great. It isn't. Some stuff is like really brilliant, some musicians are really brilliant, and there's some stuff which is not so great. So it's
Yeah.
uh, music at the end of the day, whichever genre of music that you do, it's those 12 notes that you're using and playing around with and presenting them in different ways, right? So
Yeah.
it's just the overall feel of it that gives you the feeling, oh, this is classical space, and that's which just makes it easier for us to kind of communicate with each other. But I don't have any. I have preferences, but I cannot say that I'm 100% invested in one particular kind of genre. Like for me, classical music, Carnatic classical music, it's something I have grown up in that environment. There's Hindustani,
Mm.
there's jazz. I Now, what is it that makes me love, and I'm saying not the avant-garde, not the modern jazz. I love the old jazz,
Old jazz,
the
20s sort of jazz. Yeah, yeah.
soul, the soul R&B jazz. The ones where it started. So
Yes,
you
yes.
you you listen to, uh, there's so much what I love is musicality. It's the same sense of happiness I hear when I hear something very beautiful in jazz, uh, as I would feel when I'm listening to, say, Ramana Balachandran playing uh, veena, a particular rag.
Right.
If uh, um, he's again a very young lad, very very young boy. You should listen to this boy playing veena, phrase after phrase after phrase. He's so incredible. I was stunned when I first heard him. I couldn't believe it. I said, after a long time, I'm listening to somebody who is pure genius of a musician. Because what is coming from within him is so soulful, and it's brilliant. you just mesmerized, you know.
Right.
It's like that. So it's, what is it that gives you a lot of happiness? I mean, it's in the same way I can also say, I mean, do I sit and listen to hip hop music? No, no, I wouldn't. I don't have a preference for that. But if you play me uh, some track or a hip hop track which is actually done very beautifully and very well, I would say, oh, that's lovely. So
Right.
I don't have anything against the genre or anything. Um, but I do have my preferences purely because of what I'm used to listening to from childhood, the ones that I'm exposed to. But other than that, it's music is just music. Good music, beautiful music is music that moves you, that touches you, that makes you feel some things, and
Yeah.
I, that's what it's supposed to do. And if it does that, it's done its job.
Agreed. Agreed. It was such a pleasure, talking to you. And you're such a great human being, as well as a great singer, great composer, musician, producer.
Thank
So
you,
I'm just,
thank
yeah.
you, Amrita.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.
Thank you, thank you. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amruta. And thank you, Nandini. And I thank all the listeners who attended the session. And I'm certain all of us got a lot of insights, a lot of, I would say, education about everything from you. And we are really, really waiting to. Suddenly, your voice has gone off, Nandini.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Now
Yes.
I can.
Yeah.
So, and we are really waiting for your new music to hear your new ideas when you put them out. And
Yes.
the last few days have been a bliss for me because I spent a lot of time listening to your music. That's my research when I'm going to interview someone. Instead of Googling, I listen to that person's music. I had anyway heard a lot of your
uh,
music, but a lot of your like Beate Pal is something I heard in the last few days, and a lot of
right.
things.
I think it'll tell
So
you more about me than any Google Wikipedia page
exactly.
would,
No,
you
music.
know.
The person's music tells you a lot about the person than Google. So thank you for being with us. You were, by the way,
Thank
my
you. Thank
request.
you.
Satyajit had asked me, "Is there someone you want to specifically talk to?" And I had given your name, and I'm more than happy to
It's
have
so
spoken
sweet.
to you.
Thank you. But it's what a pleasure for me here is I'm being interviewed by another fabulous musician, you know,
Thank
and obviously there's the kind of questions a musician would ask another musician is definitely different.
yes.
You know, it's not going to be आपको कैसा लगता है? So it's a um, yeah, it was lovely talking to you. It's a lovely conversation. And would you like to sing something? Maybe two lines?
uh, okay. I'll sing. Wait a second. I'll sing the Antara of Bhare Naina. Maybe
Sure.
that would be a good dedication to you, a good tribute.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let me just 1 second. Mm, yeah. Yeah. So I'll just sing an antara, and you're more than free to join.
Okay. At that key, okay. Hmm.
हाँ कोमल बड़ी है सांसों की डोरी रूठे से भी टूट जाए बावंतरा से जी को मनाया खोजे जो तोरी राहें, उन बिन उन्हें न लादा, उन बिन उन्हें मैं गरबा लगाऊं, उन बिन उन्हें न मोरा जी लगे। हाय बहे नैना भरे मोरे नैना, झरे मोरे
झरे
नैना।
मोरे नैना, मोए नैना, सुने नहीं कहना, बहे मोरे नैना। Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Thank you so much.
I'm singing one octave lower than you. But
It goes together. We, it was a pleasure for me
thank
to
you so
sing the song with the original singer. And thank you for being the musician that you are and inspiring so many of us to
thank you.
believe in ourselves and to continue doing our own music and discovering our own sound.
Absolutely. That's most important, actually. We are not doing this for anybody else out there. It's our entire life is about self realization, self discovery. Whatever you are, you're there for the society, for the people of the world. That's about it.
Thank you. And
Uh,
on this note, I would like to take leave and wish
Thank you.
everybody a very, very happy new year and stay safe, stay healthy in this period. And
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Satyajit, for
thank
calling
you,
me for
Satyajit.
this interview. And Neera, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so
Same,
much.
same here. I was looking forward to it and I will cherish this forever. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye bye, all of
Bye
you.
bye.